With only 3 episodes remaining until the conclusion of Dragon Ball Super, the question on everyone's mind is how exactly is this all going to end? Are we likely to see Goku finally meet Uben, taking him under his wing to train, or are they going to completely retcon the ending of Dragon Ball Z and going into something else that may leave the series open-ended for them to create something more in the foreseeable future? On today's video, we are going to be discussing the ending of Dragon Ball Super for Dragon Ball Super episode 131 and seeing what kind of direction they can go in and the possibilities of them going into the traditional ending of Dragon Ball Z. So hold on to your seats and buckle up tight because we're going to be talking about the conclusion of Dragon Ball Super next. If you are new to this channel and enjoy what you see, then don't forget to punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to receive new and daily content on your mobile devices, desktops, and services that I provide, along with following me on these social media platforms to stay connected with me at all times. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. There are only 3 episodes remaining until the conclusion of the Dragon Ball Super series as we go into the final episode of Dragon Ball Super on March 25th, with many questions having to linger within the community as to what may happen during Dragon Ball Super episode 131. And joining me here today to discuss the finale of Dragon Ball Super is my good friend SuperSaiyanPaul. Now Paul, I wanted to talk to you about this because the ending of Dragon Ball Super is going to be very difficult to predict because we don't know for certain as to if they're going to go into the ending of Dragon Ball Z where Goku meets Oob, or if they're going to sway away from that in doing their own thing and possibly going in a different direction to where Goku doesn't necessarily meet Oob yet. I do think that at some given point in time they need to do some sort of a time skip to where Goku does end up meeting Oob, and perhaps maybe we do enter the Budokai tournament to where Goku takes Oob under his wing and they go off to train, perhaps maybe not on Kami's lookout if they want to change the overall environment as to where they end up going. But what I wanted to ask you is, what do you expect to see by the end of Dragon Ball Super, especially with episode 131 with the conclusion of the Tournament of Power, with Goku having to be back on Earth? It's very predictable at this point that Universe 7 is going to win, especially with Goku having to tap into True Ultra Instinct. Now, with that being said, and with this overwhelming power that Goku has over Jiren, we can only make the assumption that Goku in Universe 7 wins, but then it's what happens after that really begs the question if they're going to leave this off with an open ending to where they could easily come back in the future and creating a brand new series surrounding the ending of Dragon Ball Super. So in your opinion, where do you see the ending of Dragon Ball Super going? Are we going to go into the ending with Oob and Goku having to train on Kami's lookout? Is it possible that we may go into a different ending to where it's retconned? In your opinion, as we go into Dragon Ball Super episode 131, what is it that you expect, and do you believe that they're going to keep the traditional ending from Dragon Ball Z?
I think with the finale of Dragon Ball Super, they're gonna give us a definitive ending. The reason why I would say this is because with the pacing and how things are moving, they just want to close the chapter on everything and just kind of have it coincide with Dragon Ball Z. Now, the way I think I see this ending is that I don't know necessarily if they're gonna feature Oob. It would probably be the best point in time to end it right there. This way they connect everything from start to finish of Dragon Ball Super with Z, because that's what they've been doing all along, especially with the flashbacks in terms of like middle of the fights, and you see things going back to Dragon Ball Z and like big moments as like when Vegeta did his farewell speech and stuff like that, and it flashed back to Majin Buu and things like that. They've been trying to keep it coinciding with Dragon Ball Z. This is why I would say it should end with them meeting Oob, but there's still room for more afterwards. However, they have to close the chapter on this time gap that they decided to switch. They decided to put Dragon Ball Super in, which was between the ending of Battle with Buu and the reveal of Oob and Z. There was just so much time there. That's what they made this
But
series.
Do you believe that they are going to meet Oob? Because it's very unknown at this point, because it's going to be very sad. It's going to be very sad to see the series end, but I feel like there is going to be a possible chance for us to witness an open kind of ending to where they can always continue. And I feel like with the provisional title stating Goku until we meet again one day, it's very similar to Dragon Ball GT episode 64 when they ended it off the exact same way with the exact same title. So do you see it to where it's possible for Goku to meet Oob, and then maybe they have a sparring match at the tournament, maybe something else happens, maybe Goku goes to train him? Because I don't think they're gonna keep the concept the same of Goku telling Oob, hey, you're the strongest person I ever faced before, and you should come train with me. I think they're gonna retcon a lot of that. What do you see involving Goku at the end? Because in my opinion, I think that Goku's gonna beat Jiren and Goku's gonna win the tournament. But I don't think that Goku is gonna make the wish. I think that the person that's gonna make the wish is Vegeta, because it only makes sense as it coincides with the upcoming movie. I think that, and I stated this in my previous video, I think that when Goku wins, he's gonna hand the wish off to Vegeta, Vegeta's gonna make the wish, he's gonna resurrect Universe 6, and I think, in my opinion, it would be suitable for Vegeta to head out to planet Sadala while Goku remains on Earth. Now, going back to the original ending of Z, that wasn't the case because Vegeta remained there. Now, do you see it to where Vegeta, there is a possible chance of Vegeta making the wish, visiting planet Sadala, while Goku's on Earth, possibly interacting with Oob, or maybe wanting to train his sons? What do you think is the best and the worst case scenario as we go into Dragon Ball Super episode 131?
I think the most clear-cut scenario with how things are working out right now is most likely Universe 6 is going to get resurrected. If not all the universes, at least Universe 6, because everything does tie with the movie, with how things are going, especially with the fact that in Dragon Ball Super's movie, most of the details are going to be revealed in March, which is when Dragon Ball Super ends. And with it having the most Saiyans, it does coincide with Planet Sadala and how we were thinking that we were going to get an arc, but that being turned into a movie. Now with Goku getting to meet Oob, that's still can potentially happen because Oob was referenced in Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
If they already put that there, they can do whatever they want. They can really just put him in there and it'll still fit. However, him going off to train with Oob, we don't necessarily know how they're going to continue the series off from there, but there is still a tiny bit of like timing and space between from where the tournament power ends to when they meet him, and that's when the Sadala arc is going to fit in this movie. But after that, that's still a mystery, because when he takes Oob off to train, that's where it could technically be open-ended, and that's what they did with GT. They just basically took it and threw that part in there. But
do you think this is gonna go into GT? Because the way I see this happening, and again, this is just my subjective opinion, I really do feel like Vegeta's gonna be given the wish by Goku, because as of this recording, we don't really know as to what they have planned in terms of the wish or the ending, but I really do feel like with Mastered Ultra Instant Goku, the way he's being portrayed and the way he's labeled, he's basically indestructible. And I feel like when Goku, not if, but when Goku beats Jiren, he's gonna hand the wish off to Vegeta, because this entire time, during Universe 6's, tournament with Universe 7, during the Tournament of Power, it was foreshadowed so many times to where Vegeta wanted to visit, Universe 6, he wanted to visit Planet Sadal, he wanted to meet the king and interact with those people. I really don't see it to where Goku makes the wish and he brings everybody else back. I can see him giving the wish over to Vegeta and Vegeta only bringing back Universe 6. I'm sorry to say, I don't see the other universes being brought back. And again, that could be a good or a bad thing, because I would like to see the other universes also return, but at the same time, if that were to be the case, what are you gonna do afterwards? Does everyone just go home? Do the gods appreciate Goku for bringing them back? It's very interesting for that matter. But going into the concept of Goku bringing back the other universes, do you see that happening, or do you only see Universe 6 being brought back and nobody else?
I feel like they should at least bring every universe back. It would make sense for Universe 6 to be brought back alone still, because those characters were the most developed, and honestly I would rather that, because I hate Rian that much that I'd rather every universe to die. But at the same time, I feel like if it was Goku getting the wish, which I'm gonna debate you on that, I think Goku would just resurrect everybody and undo because he's viewed as the bad guy, and if they want to make him look like the good guy, have him resurrect everyone. That was how he would redeem himself in that perspective.
Well, yeah, because obviously it was even stated during the Zen exhibition by Bergamo that he is the enemy of the universes, and everybody kind of agreed in saying, okay, well, this guy called for the tournament, so thus this guy's a criminal and he is a monster for doing what he did. But little do everybody else know that, Goku did this for the sake of protecting them and giving them a fighting chance. What if there is a possibility that Goku does not bring everybody else back, but instead it's only Universe 6? Do you think that, and with that being said, this also means that if Universe 11 gets erased, then there's no more Jiren. So do you believe that that would be a logical thing to do in only bringing back Universe 6 and keeping everyone else erased? Or do you think that they're gonna have to bring everybody else back for the sake of keeping the story open-ended?
See, that's why I would say they would bring everybody back, because the way that title of episode 131 goes, Goku until farewell until we meet again, I feel like that's Jiren saying that to Goku. I feel like that's what Goku's message is from Jiren, and Jiren like eventually saying we're gonna have a rematch one day. Same thing like what happened with him, and how every kind of main villain or main bad guy in terms of Goku's path, they always end up having a rematch. That's why I say they can't just kill Jiren off, because there's still more room for that in terms of open-endedness, and plus there's still more enemies out there, and I think they want to keep the universe big. This way there's more ideas out there. If they just eliminate all these other universes, it becomes small and the writing becomes harder.
What do you think is going to be the fate of Beerus and Whis? Do you believe that they're going to bid their farewell to Goku and do their own thing? Do you believe that Beerus is going to go back to sleep? Because I do feel like in the foreseeable future, we are going to get another series one day. I can call that right now, because based on Dragon Ball's history, when you thought it was over, it's only the beginning. So just when you think that it's over, I feel like this is going to be the start of a new beginning one day. Just like when Dragon Ball ended, we had Dragon Ball Z. When Dragon Ball Z ended, we had Dragon Ball GT. When Dragon Ball GT ended, we have Dragon Ball Super. And I feel like after Super, something else is bound to come in the future to where it's going to continue. Now, that all varies on, you know, Goku and his status. Do you see Beerus and Whis kind of leaving per se, not permanently, but more or less like, okay, we had our cake, we ate it too, we interacted with you mortals enough, it's time for me to go back to sleep? Do you see Beerus going back to, you know, slumber just as he once was before he woke up, you know, after 39 years of sleeping? Do you see Beerus going back to sleep? Do you see the gods permanently leaving and thus bringing us back to the classic where it's just our heroes and no other deities? Everything has been left alone. There is no Omni button. Goku doesn't have any more interactions with the Omni King, but instead he's more or less back on Earth with his family. How do you see, you know, the ending going about to where it includes the gods? Do you see them fading away and just going back to their planet, or do you see them more or less still involved?
See, if they're setting up for another series, I'd rather see them more involved, because with, even though Goku getting Ultra Instinct and him being the end-all be-all of all forms, it's still, they're the bridge and connection to the other universes that weren't featured in the tournament. But the way Dragon Ball Super has played the cards, it seems as though they still kept room for them being able to connect Dragon Ball GT, even though that's not canon. It still connects in a way, and I'm not sure if they're going to completely overwrite that, even though they should. I agree that they should, but them leaving those open-ended cards there and seeing it, like right now it's up in the air if they're going to connect it or not, or if they're going to completely retcon it. But if they do, that would be the best ideal thing and keep Beerus and Whis in the story. If not, they could go away and it still kind of all flows into one another, because Super Saiyan 4 was still one of the best forms ever, and them featuring that in the video games, it kind of like takes away from the marketing if you just overwrite all of that.
So do you think that they're going to completely overwrite the ending to where you would know for certain that there wouldn't be a GT, or do you think that they would write it to where they could easily create another series that strays away from what GT was? Because a lot of people may not remember, yes, Dragon Ball Super is in between Dragon Ball Z and before GT. So after the events of Majin Buu, before the Budokai tournament with Oob and Goku as they went off to train on Kami's lookout. So do you think that they're gonna more or less encompass the same thing to where Goku meets Oob at the tournament and they take off when they leave? Because I feel like if they write the story similar to where they fight, Goku overwhelms him, and then they go off to the lookout, it's gonna more or less kind of bring you back to the GT vibe and saying, okay, well, you know, that reminds me of when they continued and started off GT with them fighting on the lookout before Goku was a kid. Or do you believe that they're gonna have it different to where instead of going to the lookout, Goku takes Oob to Beerus's planet, or they go to the time chamber, or they go anywhere else aside from the lookout to where they train, and which ultimately could leave, you know, an open ending to us to where we can follow up with a new series? Like what are your overall thoughts on Oob? And even if Oob is not introduced, let's say for example we don't see Oob at all, how is it you would feel about that? Do you feel like it would be a bit of a downplay to the original ending, or do you think that it would be most logical for them to continue this and end it in a different way?
It would take away from the original ending, but it still makes sense for them to meet him more than anything right now, because the fact that they mentioned him, they can't just write that out now. So he has to meet him, but there is a time gap that they can still fill in terms of a series between when he meets Oob and when GT starts, because there's still a few years in that space there, and they don't necessarily have to just take him straight to Lookout. That time gap, we don't know what happened there, but he could still take him to like the gods and see what they can do with whatever they could fit into that time gap and what they can put Oob through, because base form Goku and GT is as strong as SS3 Goku.
Absolutely, he was exponentially higher, yeah.
So it still kind of all makes sense, but it's up to them with whatever series or whatever they decide to launch after this point out, if they're willing to retcon or not. I think that's why they're taking this ending very seriously here, with just ending an entire series, because it's either you override it or you don't.
But what do you think would be the worst case scenario? Because the best case scenario, I would guess, is for them to encounter Oob, and then they, you know, write it to where they can possibly go off and train, and keeping it more or less the same. But what do you think would be the worst case scenario, in your opinion, for Dragon Ball Super Episode 131?
Worst case scenario would be them just leaving all of these. Like, if they did kill every other universe besides Universe 6, that means that we're just gonna get one last arc with this Hadala arc in a movie form type of thing. That's what I'm predicting here. And then after that, it just leads right into Oob, and then they just end it right there, and then we don't see anything for like a long time. They don't fill up any of the gaps between the time skip between Oob's childhood growth and when he becomes an adult. I think they're wasting too many opportunities if they skip over too much things and rush it. So that would probably be the biggest waste, if they just leave all these things like closed in terms of like the universes out there. If Beerus and Whis goes away, if they like completely disconnect everything that they established in Dragon Ball Super, that would be the worst case scenario, because you just built all of these things up. For them to just give that all away and throw it away, that doesn't really make too much sense. That would downplay the series as a whole.
My final question is, how do you feel knowing that now Dragon Ball Super is reaching its end, and with episode 131, I mean, we've gone through so much. We've gone through the introduction of an evil Goku, also known as Goku Black, Zamasu. We had the massive Tournament of Power, the tournament of all tournaments. Even before that, we had the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. We saw Frieza be resurrected twice in the form of a movie/arc and then being brought back for the tournament. We had the Poftafu arc with a copy Vegeta. We had so many things in this series that were both good and bad. Just by the very end of this, how do you feel about Dragon Ball Super ending? And in your opinion, because everyone has different opinions on this, do you ever see Dragon Ball Super coming back in the form of a television show? If so, when? If not, why not?
Well, I think overall with Dragon Ball Super, I've been satisfied, especially with these last two arcs, with the Goku Black arc and the Tournament of Power. These arcs have been phenomenal, but they do have flaws nonetheless. And I think when you look at the overall theme of things and how things went along, you can kind of ignore them. Only thing that I would complain about is the endings and stuff like that, with how rushed they were. And what they did here is the biggest flaw with it is that they rushed themselves into holes like they couldn't dig themselves out of. And what I kind of regret here is them, as much as I wanted them to fill the gap between where Dragon Ball Z ended and where they met Oob, I feel like the biggest flaw was them not pacing it well enough. If they slowed it down a bit and took it at the same pace as Dragon Ball Z, rather than rushing Super Saiyan transformations all the way to God forms in the time span of 40 minutes, it would have been much more satisfying to see. And my overall thoughts on it is that I don't really know if we're going to see another Dragon Ball Super series, because I think they just want to end it off here and figure out if they're going to retcon the GT arc or any part of Z at the end there. They're going to just launch out a new series and stop digging themselves into holes, because everything they established before is what they kept getting roadblocks into. So instead of having to connect everything, I think they would rather just stop, create a new series, and then never have to worry about that again if they decide to just run the train right through everything.
Speaking of a brand new series, what's most interesting about that particular topic is I do have a video planned after March 25th where I pretty much discuss my thoughts with the community as well in discussing the future of the Dragon Ball franchise, as I once did nearly 4.5 years ago, speaking on a brand new Dragon Ball series. And that video, I think, is going to be very special to me, because it's a video that even right now I am currently working on, and trying to not only look at everything that Dragon Ball Super has presented from an objective point of view, but also gathering the input from many fans within the community as to what they would like to see in another series. Because everything that Dragon Ball Super had done right, there were many things that I felt like they did wrong, and hopefully enough, if they look back on this and looking at the story and the overall direction of characters, they can always, you know, go about that and improving that in a future series. But I think that with the ending of Super, we don't really know as as of this recording as to what they're going to do, what their main direction is going to be, but I personally feel like the ending of Dragon Ball Super might be open-ended because I really don't think that they're going to definitively close the chapter off to where they can't possibly continue. However, the possibilities are endless for the world of Dragon Ball. They can always do so much more, and you guys can look forward in seeing those videos on the channel in the foreseeable future. So let us know down below, guys, as to what you guys think about the ending of Dragon Ball Super. How do you guys think that they're going to go into this? Are they going to introduce Oob? Are we going to see the farewell of Beerus and Whis? Is Goku going to be alive? Is he possibly going to die? Let us know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit it up with a like and a favorite. Make sure you guys go ahead and punch that subscribe button as well. Turn on all notifications. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Cue my outro, bitch.